gasoline prices just hit $1.88 a gallon in 3 states. Can you believe it? It was at $3.50. It was at $4. We're drilling. Oh, we're drilling.
Tonight, Donald Trump gave the commencement address at the University of Alabama, and in a speech that is supposed to be about other people and celebrating their accomplishments. Of course, Donald Trump was only talking about himself because what else would he do? He was angry. He was vengeful. He was attacking his political enemies, and for some reason, those enemies included Elon Musk, who he mocked and just threw under the bus. And we're going to cover it all in what seems to be a bit of a feud brewing. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already, and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really does mean a lot to me. Now, before we can get into Donald Trump just humiliating Elon, we gotta start where the speech did. Donald Trump's own complaints.
Had to see where the enemy lies because they're already looking to impeach Trump. You know, these crazy people. Let's impeach him. For what? We don't know exactly, but we'll try it. These people are crazy. So we had to, get our bearings for the first couple of weeks. So in 2 months, we had over $8 trillion, think of it, committed. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. There's never been anything like it in any country at any time, and it's all because they want to avoid the tariffs. We want to get here fast. And I said, a number of times, tariff is the most beautiful word in the world, and I got absolutely decimated by the fake news. They said, what about love? What about your wife? What about your parents? What about religion and God? So I said, all right, it's the 5th nicest word I've ever seen. And since I've done that, I've been in good shape. Nobody's bothered me. They've been very nice.
Why are we trying to impeach you? Why would anyone want to impeach you? Maybe it's because you've committed impeachable offenses. Maybe it's because you are breaking the law every single day with your disaster of a presidency. Have you considered that? That all of your cabinet officials are also breaking the law while putting all of us in danger? Has none of this gone through your mind? No, of course not. Because Donald Trump's mind is dementing and breaking and falling apart every day, as we can clearly see in this moment, which is a callback to a speech in which Donald Trump did it. I can't even explain it. Just take a look.
And she's going to do it. Mom, I love you. I'm going to do it for you, Mom. And she goes, and she lives, and she gets it. And, Mom, I'm going to do it, Mom. Can't do it.
What is he doing? We've seen him do this before, the lifting bit, but what is it trying to accomplish besides make us all incredibly uncomfortable and be very weird and be something that we rightfully mock Donald Trump for? I don't get it. But of course, the speech went back to what we can always expect, the Donald Trump speech to be about anger and vengeance, and in front of kids who had just graduated, celebrating the biggest achievement of their life so far. Who is Donald Trump talking about? His anger with judges.
But they have to let us do the job that the voters want us to do. Judges are interfering, supposedly based on due process, but how can you give due process to people who came into our country illegally? They want to give them due process. I don't know.
This is just an absolute disaster. And it's funny because the University of Alabama Democrats, the college Democrats at the University of Alabama, actually put out a statement before Donald Trump came to give the commencement speech saying that the campus actually voted for Kamala Harris. No matter what you think about the state of Alabama, clearly the University of Alabama wasn't following suit with the rest of the state, and how Donald Trump is unpopular there and isn't welcome. And that was, pretty clear in the kids who were made incredibly uncomfortable by it all. But it wasn't just the students. It was also those watching, specifically Elon Musk, who before Donald Trump insulted him, was actually giving a little interview on Fox in which he said this weirdness right here.
you're talking about like your great-grandchildren, like with the birth date, like I think it was like 2165. So more than a century from now was the birth date.
George Jetson was getting paid.
Yes, because your birthday is in the future, like the far future, not like next year.
Right.
And this is either fraudulent or we have your birthday wrong.
It's either a typo or someone stealing.
Which is it? Yes.
Right.
Yes. You should at least ask, which is it?
So Elon Musk is coming up with as many lies as he possibly can about Social Security, going so far in these weird statements, these weird narratives, that he's saying not only are we still paying Social Security to people who are dead, which is not true, we're also paying Social Security to people in the future. Does that make any sense? George Jetson, the cartoon character, I don't know. He's clearly out of his mind. I am so glad that he is going to be gone soon. And maybe Donald Trump is as well, because he had this to say about Elon.
You have to have the right vision. If you look at some of these internet people, I know so many of them. Elon is so terrific, but I know now all of them, they all hated me in my first term, and now they're kissing my ass, Do you know? It's true. All of them. It's true.
There's a couple of things that I take from that statement. The first is, no matter how much Donald Trump appears to like Elon or talks about how he likes Elon, it's really just because he sees him as the easiest and most bendable stooge around him. And Elon's got tons of cash, and of course, Donald Trump likes that. But he thinks Elon will just do whatever he wants, which is pretty much true. And part of the reason I always say that none of these big institutions, no colleges, no Wall Street CEOs, no media corporations should be bending the knee to Donald Trump. Because no matter what you do, he will always use and abuse you more. We saw this from 60 Minutes, right? CBS deciding we're going to settle. We're going to pay Donald Trump $10 million, all for him to then continue to attack 60 Minutes and say that he was going to pull their license, take them off the air. You can never satisfy Donald Trump. And Elon Musk is a great example of that. He is getting the boot. He is leaving Donald Trump's administration, although he has stolen billions of dollars from the federal government, much poorer than he started, because he is so unpopular, because he attached himself to Donald Trump, someone who clearly just doesn't care about him and just sees him as someone who's a prop around him. And then that's the same case with DOGE. This has been an absolute disaster. We know this. And Jared Moskowitz called it out as well right here.
You said you believe in, quote, streamlining government processes and reducing ineffective government spending. Is that what you've seen? And have these cuts been good for the country so far?
No, Wolf. First of all, let's just talk about the first 100 days. I mean, maybe the only president to have a worse 100 days was William Henry Harrison. I mean, it's just been absolutely disastrous. First of all, the DOGE caucus in Congress is dead. It's defunct. It met twice. I was there and never met again. They weren't included in any conversation. So the DOGE caucus in Congress officially dead. DOGE of the executive branch, a complete failure. They have not met their goals by 85%. And they didn't do any efficiency. Nothing in government is more efficient. They just did dog. They forgot the E part. And so it's been a complete and utter failure. That's why Elon's had to run away back to his company. He's ruined his name, he's ruined his company, and he's gone on to ruin the federal government. And so look, consumer sentiment is down to the lowest level to 1990. GDP obviously is underwater, completely reversed. The tariffs are the biggest man-made economic disaster of the modern era.
Strong words indeed, Congressman. We've also learned that the U.S. economy contracted during the first 3 months of this year. That's the worst showing since 2022. Many economists blame President Trump's policies, including, of course, his tariffs, the trade war, but the president is pointing the finger at former President Biden. How do you respond to that?
I thought Biden was in the basement, right? I thought Biden didn't have all his faculties, but yet they continue to do this two things with Biden, like, oh, he's slow and he wasn't with it, but yet he's this mastermind. Let's be clear. Donald Trump said this was his stock market in January of this year. January 24th, he put out a nice tweet and said, this is the Trump stock market. And then on April 30th, he put out, this is the Biden stock market. What happened? Oh, it was Liberation Day. Liberation Day. He liberated the American economy of $5 trillion. And so look, this was a major mistake of theirs. They didn't calculate how this would go. They tariffed the whole world, including the penguins at the same time, friend and foe alike. They didn't do reciprocal. It was more, they can't make all these deals in time because they got to deal with governments that then have to vote on things. And so, yeah, look, they've walked a lot of this back. They've walked it back because they're trying to save the bond market from completely collapsing. And so, look, I want the president to figure a way out of this, right? I don't want the economy to collapse. I don't want the American people to lose money in their pensions and their stock market. I don't want people to be laid off. And so I do want him to find a way out. And if he wants to work with Congress, we can do that. But, you know, Congress took power away. The Republicans took power away to even be involved in tariffs and gave it to the president. And so, look, I hope he finds a way out of this for the American people.
Let's see if that happens. Congressman, I also want to get your reaction to something President Trump said during a News Nation town hall when asked to name the biggest mistake of his first 100 days. Listen to this.
I'll tell you, that's the toughest question I can have because I don't really believe I've made mistakes.
You made any mistakes?
We're in a transition period.
All right, Congressman, no mistakes. What's your reaction?
Well, I don't know, Wolf. Is Canada the 51st state? Have you bought a condo in Gaza? I mean, is Greenland part of the United States yet? I mean, I could go on. I mean, clearly the tariffs are the largest mistake that he has made. And by the way, if you listen to Republican podcasts, what they're saying, I think really is true, is that, look, some of their ideas had merit, but the execution of what they did is what has killed all of this. Finding government waste, good idea. Execution, total failure, right? Trying to figure out how to bring jobs back to America, good idea. Execution, total failure. And so it's been the execution of how they've done this. Rather than doing it with a scalpel, they've done it with a chainsaw. And that's what has been the mistake.
You know, I'm hearing from friends down in your district in Boca Raton that a lot of Canadians who normally visit Boca Raton, tourists, are stopping coming to Boca Raton and other communities in Florida right now in protest of what Trump is saying about Canada becoming the 51st state. Have you noticed a drop in Canadian tourism to Florida?
They're really trying to be polite with this, aren't they? Just like the police leave, it's not like we can trust anything that J.D. Vance says. He's as much of a slime as Elon. I'm going to be excited when both of them are gone. And for that to happen, we got to work every single day in calling them out. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. Until next time, I'll see you soon.